I call the special meeting of the Eugene 4J School Board to order. It's November 23rd, 2021 at 5:15 p.m. All board members are present on Zoom. And we have one item for action tonight. And that's the item for action is to consider revisions to school calendar. And I'm going to ask the superintendent to present that item, please.
Good evening, and thanks for making tonight possible. I know that it was a rush for some of you, and I want to say thank you. A little bit of background. At last board meeting, we the district requested 2 days, November 24th and a day in January, to have as work relief days for our staff. The board asked that superintendent and staff go back and work with our unions to see if we could come up with maybe a bigger plan that covers more and gives, I would say, time throughout the rest of the year. So over the weekend, I met with EEA with a small group, and here is what we came up with. You got it in your packet, and I would say that it is easier to follow on the chart. There's a chart that shows what days are changed from a school day to a work day and what days were already work days. So I'm going to list some dates, but not all of them mean that we're going from a school day to a work day. They're just moving some around. So we are asking that December 6th and 7th become work relief days. And as you can see, that elementary schools on the 6th, we would have had kids. We're asking that one to move to a work relief day. And then the next day, the 7th, for elementary would be a regular school day. For secondary, they're doing grades on the 6th, and we would like to use the 7th as the work relief day. And then on the 21st, it's a no school day, and it was scheduled to be a school day, and we're changing it to a grading day so that what we're anticipating is Eugene Online Academy. We can see that many parents are choosing to move kids back and forth, not just from Eugene Online Academy, but back and forth from brick and mortar to Eugene Online Academy or from Eugene Online Academy to brick and mortar. And we anticipate maybe needing a little extra time to make sure staffing is appropriate at each building. So that would allow it if we did grades at elementary on the 21st, and then on the 28th for elementary, it would become a work day instead of a grading day, which means if you had extra kids, if you, some teachers at EOA might have to move to a building. So it just gives an opportunity to get your bearings before the new term. For secondary on the 21st, it's a change from a school day to a work relief day. And then on the 28th, there's no school already, and it would be progress reports and a PD day. We share some of that time for PD, some for progress reports. And then on the 18th, it's a change from PD, professional development, and for both schools, and it makes it so that there's no school on that day. And then the 15th would become the planning day. And actually the 15th is used to be a school day, and we're asking that it becomes a professional development day so that the 18th could be a work relief day. So at the end of the day, we're moving things around, but really it's 3 days that go from instruction to a work relief day. I met with MAPS and I met with EEA, and we have talked with OSEA about this. And so there's more conversation with EEA and MAPS than OSEA, but there was no one who said that they were against it. And in fact, the MAPS and EEA helped create and some of the verbiage and pick the days. So what we're asking for is a change in calendar. This change would result in some of our levels being short hours that are needed according to ODE. And we'll bring those back at a later date once we're kind of waiting for winter months because we think we're going to have some snow days. And so we'll just bring them all the requests back at one time once we think we're through with the winter months. There you go. That's the proposal.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the superintendent? The chart was really helpful, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had 2 people really like the chart, so there you go.
Mary. You're muted, Mary.
I want to thank the superintendent and her staff for working over the weekend. Probably that's not what they had planned, but to develop this really well thought out plan, and which does incorporate key points of the equity tool. And I think it's really it was very helpful to see the chart and lay it all out, as well as the written analysis. And I appreciate that we had the chance to look at it ahead of time. And I hope we can act quickly to move forward on this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is that a
Can you
hand?
hear me?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say much like what Mary said, I appreciate the work that went into this. What it was looking for, more days and more relief, and not to just put it out piecemeal, but to get something on the book for the rest of the year. So I'm very appreciative that we got that done. And all the people that worked on this, because it sounds like probably on the outside, it's just a few, let's look at some days. But on the inside, it's like, let's play chess for 3 days. I always think of strategery instead of the right word since Bush. I never say it right anymore. But thank you for your strategic work in this. I would say, as far as the equity lens, I think what I saw in the use of it is that yes, it was used. It's exactly what we want. I can also see how with more training, we will become better at it. And so the important part of the equity lens is consistency, and to get it out there and to use it and to make it part of our normal language at 4J. So thank you for showing that to everyone, because that helps people normalize it as well. That's all I have. Thanks.
Anyone else? Maya.
I also am feeling pretty grateful. I appreciate Superintendent Vanderkar for taking the time and going back and really looking at different days and calendar revisions that will serve a multitude of needs. In particular, I appreciate that this proposal comes with a stamp of approval, not only from our central staff, but alongside our employee groups. I had the chance to reach out shortly before this meeting to OSEA, and I got a big thumbs up from them, and that made me feel really good. I do also want to appreciate the work that went down over the weekend. I love that that Sydney and Sabrina and their fellow cohorts got together to discuss this, but I do want to point out how ironic it is that in searching for a plan to alleviate a burden that teachers are carrying, that it came at great cost to your work and your personal time and your energy reserves. And I think that bears repeating and noting. This didn't come easy, but I deeply appreciate the sacrifices that everybody made to pull this together. I personally used the equity lens to go over this proposal while I was considering how I would make my decision. And the key concern that keeps popping up for me stood out again. And while I will vote to support this proposal, I can only do so after noting my continued concern for families. I want all of us to remain diligent in attempting to find solutions beyond our long-standing approaches to handling childcare challenges that arise on these kinds of days. I think that, like this proposal, it will take a lot of work. And at the same time, and I always get these sayings wrong, so please forgive me, but nothing worth doing is easy. And I think that this is worth doing just as much as the proposal to offer some relief to our staff. So not to be forgotten, thank you to my fellow board members for pulling it together and coming tonight. I'm really grateful that we made the time and space to promptly revisit the calendar.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up to thank also the superintendent. I just wanted to follow up on what you were talking about, Maya, because this is a hardship for families. And when we take away days, they're scrambling for childcare, and it isn't easy. And I know the superintendent reached out to at least 5 or 6 childcare providers in our area. And I know, because that's something I work with in my daily life, this is considered a childcare desert right now. That's a pretty stark description, but we lost about half of our childcare providers in our community during the pandemic. And I know that the childcare community is working hard to try to build that workforce back up. And so I agree, being creative and figuring out ways going forward. I'm excited about expanding our BEST program and other ways to address some of those issues for kids. So anyhow, thank you for making the effort to reach out, and thank you to parents who will be working hard to make this work. Anyone else? Maybe we could entertain a motion then. Martina.
Okay. So this will be a little bit of a mouthful, bear with me. I move that the board approve adoption of the proposed revisions to the school calendar, changing from instruction to non-instructional days on Monday, December 6th for elementary schools, Tuesday, December 7th for middle and high schools, Friday, January 21st at all school levels, and Friday, April 15th at all school levels.
Is there a second? Mary seconds it. So it was moved by Martina and seconded by Mary. Any discussion? Then I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
It looks like this motion is passed unanimously with all 7 board members voting aye. So the motion passes. And I am going to say this could be a record-breaking meeting. And again, I want to say thank you for everyone who carved out time. I know it wasn't easy on a Tuesday at very short notice. And for those of you in the listening audience that tuned in, we have quite a few people. So enjoy your evening, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting.